Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Holding down the middle of the day.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Monday. Good to be back. Hope I didn't miss anything too significant. Nice to take a week away, hang out with the family, a little beach time, a little golf time. Came back on Saturday, which was nice not to have to go to work the next day. But it is nice to be here today because football has started down in New Orleans, and we are fired up to talk to you about that and some other things over the next 2 hours here on the Hunt Palmer Show. Got Casey Gaines and Jacob Beck back there on the ones and twos. Big shout out to Taylor Sharp for holding down the fort with these two last week as I was away for the first week I've taken off since I think my honeymoon. And it was awesome to get away, but appreciate Taylor for stepping in. I checked into the chat a couple of times on Thursday and Friday from the beach and just making sure that the studio hadn't burned down or anything, and appeared everything was in good shape. And I heard Taylor did an awesome job. Well, multiple people actually texted me about that, so thanks to him. But let's get back into it here for the next 2 hours. We're going to talk a little bit of LSU baseball coming up here as they added a new pitcher that I haven't gotten to talk to you about and kind of round out what looks to be their staff. Billy Embody is going to join us at 1:30. LSU's gotten 2 commitments in the last 24 hours after the Bayou Splash event. What is to come with LSU's recruiting class? Plus, they got a little get-together going on in Dallas this evening that Billy's going to be running up to the Bengal Tigers, so we're going to get him a chance to kind of pub that. If you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and want to go hang with some LSU fans, talk some recruiting, some LSU football, Billy's got you covered tonight over in Plano, so we'll talk to Billy about that at 1:30. Kat Terrell is going to jump aboard to talk about the Saints. She's been out at camp since they broke and has been there the last couple of days. She'll join us at 2 o'clock. Going to bring back Meet the Freshman. It's a feature we have given you all 3 years now on the Hunt Palmer Show, and we'll start that in the second hour today. So plenty to get to. We start with LSU football on the recruiting trail. Yesterday, Tigers get a commit from Ori Williams, a big offensive lineman who was there at the Bayou Splash event. He's from San Marcos, Texas. Big 3-star, 6'7", 300. He comes into LSU's class on the offensive line. And then just within the hour, Joseph Cryer from Natchitoches Central up there in the 318 committed to LSU just a day after decommitting from Ole Miss, where he had been committed. These are both 3-stars and big, physically, additions to this class. But you look and you go, 3 stars, is that really what you want to be recruiting? And I would sit here and tell you, not usually. I don't really care too much about recruiting a bunch of 3 stars. I'd rather have the 4 and 5-star guys. That's where I live as just someone who watches recruiting from afar. But I'll tell you this. If there's one thing that we can count on from Brian Kelly, it's the development of offensive linemen. This was a hallmark of his program at Notre Dame. And so I'm less concerned with the stars next to Joseph Cryer's name, the stars next to Ori Williams' name. You can look at the other offers that they had. Ori Williams was looking at Texas A&M, Texas, and Florida, so that would suggest maybe the coaching staffs in those 3 places are higher on him than the recruiting services are. That appears to be the case at this point. You can look at Joseph Cryer and say, well, he was committed to Ole Miss and Oklahoma State's looking for him. Is that the guy that you want to bring into LSU where you're supposed to have a top 5 class each and every year and churn guys into the NFL? And say, well, okay, that makes a lot of sense, but let's just look. Let's look at Brian Kelly's track record. Let's look at what he did at Notre Dame. I'm going back to the 2014 draft. Zach Martin, 1st rounder. Chris Watt, 3rd rounder. Ronnie Stanley, 1st rounder. Nick Martin, 2nd rounder. Quentin Nelson, 1st rounder. Mike McGlinchey, 1st rounder. Liam Eichenberg, 2nd rounder. Aaron Banks, 2nd rounder. Since 2014, Brian Kelly at Notre Dame had 9 offensive linemen drafted, 3 in the 1st round, 3 in the 2nd round, 2 in the 3rd round, and 1 in the 6th. But what has LSU done in that time frame? They recruit a lot of 4 and 5 stars, don't they? Yeah, they do. They've had the same number of offensive linemen drafted in that time, 9, as Notre Dame. How many 1st rounders to Notre Dame's 3? None. How many second rounders to Notre Dame's 3? 1. If you look in the first 2 rounds of the draft, Notre Dame's turned 6 guys out there, LSU 1. And then LSU had 3 third rounders. Trey Turner, Lloyd Cushenberry, and Damian Lewis. Incidentally, Ethan Posick was the second round pick. Now, LSU's had good offensive lines, and they've had guys drafted. Gerald Hawkins got drafted. Leo Collins would have been drafted higher than this had he not run into the issues that were unfortunate in his case right around draft time. Like, it's not like LSU hasn't been able to block for 10 years. But Notre Dame has churned elite-level players out on the offensive line. And so the question is how? What's the secret sauce here? Well, I'm not going to give you the secret sauce because it wasn't given to me, but I'll tell you this. I went back to Brian Kelly's introductory press conference. The first day he was in Baton Rouge, and Leah Van from The Advocate said, Coach, you put a ton of offensive linemen in the NFL. How did you do that?
Yeah, so, demeanor, right? You're looking at what their demeanor is. Playing that offensive line position requires a profile that I like to stick with. I'm not going to get into the specifics right now, but there's a demeanor, there's a profile, and there's a brotherhood on that offensive line that we build. And that brotherhood is real. Those guys are selfless, and they are the backbone of any great offense that I've ever coached. So
there's a profile, is what he says. And it's pretty obvious if you go back. I'm not going to go back and bring you through every Notre Dame offensive line commitment and signee that Brian Kelly ever had at offensive line, but I did that right out of the chute when we heard that quote. And I can tell you, if you go back and look at Zach Martin, you look at Ronnie Stanley, and you look at Quentin Nelson and Mike McGlinchey, if you go back and look at what they looked like coming out of high school, they all carry the same profile. They have long levers, and they're lean. And they add weight as they get to Notre Dame and through their Notre Dame career. And by that point, they're ready to go be really rich dudes who, in a couple cases there, are probably going to the Hall of Fame. And that's the profile that Brian Kelly is going to recruit to on the offensive line at OSU. Look at this class that he's got coming in on the offensive line. Ethan Callaway. 4-star by some, Rivals on 3, 3-star by 24/7. In any event, he's 6'7", 300. Continue down the line on the offensive front of guys that they're bringing in this class. Ori Williams, 6'7", 300. Same measurable. Joseph Cryer, 6'4", 290. Those are the guys he's going to get. You're not going to see, in most instances with Brian Kelly, 6'3", 345-pound offensive lineman commits. That's not going to be something that Brian Kelly's going to recruit very often. Kyrie Lee is in this class. He's 6'5", 307. Demarion Johnson, that's a defensive lineman, sorry, in this class. I was looking down at one more. That was Ori Williams. But if you look at the last class that LSU signed on the offensive line, because you know about Will Campbell, who was committed prior to Kelly, and you know about Emory Jones, and they fit that profile of tall guys that are lean. But if you look at Zalance Hurd, 6'5", 305. You're going to see far more offensive line commitments that weigh 295 than 340. Now, DJ Chester in last year's class is 6'5", 335. So it's not like never, but that goes back to the demeanor portion. If you put on DJ Chester's film, it's not real pleasant. He's a pretty violent dude. But Tyree Adams from St. Aug, 6'5", 280. That's long and lean. Paul Mabanga, interior offensive line, 6'4", 275. There's a profile. We're now looking over 2 different classes. So, yeah, like Trey Turner was a great player here and has been a good NFL player. Unfortunately, got hurt right out of the Shooting Saints camp. And there can be plenty of really good offensive linemen that come into school at 350 pounds. But Brian Kelly's not going to recruit to that mold. And so some may be a 3-star, some may be a 4-star, some may be a 5-star. But the track record here is not like 1 or 2 guys. it's like a decade. And that's what it's going to look like. And if LSU can get the right guys up front with the talent level that they should be bringing in and always do bring in at the skill positions, it could be real potent. You just got to get them blocked up front. And LSU's been okay at that. But I think with Brian Kelly at the helm, they're going to be great at it. So are they going to steal headlines with these two commitments over the last 24 hours? Probably not. Am I in a position to trust that what he's doing is the right thing? Yeah, I am. Because there's just too much data here that tells me that he knows what he's doing. So we'll talk with Billy Embody a little bit more in depth about these two guys and what we can expect moving forward and some of the other things that went on with the Bayou Splash event. But I'm all in on the way that Brian Kelly has put together his offensive lines. And I think that LSU's is in a position to have really good offensive line play for the foreseeable future. You know about Campbell. You know about Jones. You know about Hurd. You've still got Turner. You've still got Frazier. You're bringing in all the names I just rattled off. There's reason for real optimism on the offensive line. And I don't think that's blind homerism to sit here and tell you that Zach Martin and Mike McGlinchey and Quentin Nelson and Liam Eichenberg and Ronnie Stanley are pretty good players. So I'm happy with the way things are going on offensive line recruiting to this point. Now LSU is kind of getting toward what used to be the limit for your signing class of 25 guys. They've got 22 commitments, but remember, they scrapped that. You don't have a cap anymore. You just can fill the open scholarships. You got guys transfer out, and you've got guys that go early to the draft, and you've got guys that go because they're out of eligibility, and all of a sudden you've got 31, 36 open spots. Fill them. Sign 28 high school guys. Sign 31 high school guys if you want. Or sign 15 high school guys and go get 22 guys out of the portal. Whatever you want to do to fill the numbers, you can do it. And LSU is creeping towards that 25 that used to be your cap, and it is no longer there. So we'll talk with Billy Embody of On 3 coming up here in a few minutes. When we come back, I do want to get back briefly to LSU baseball because we see an addition to LSU's rotation that was added last week. And is there more to come? I'll tell you about that next.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Make this summer your backyard party year with Chris's Specialty Foods. Wings, burgers, brisket, steak, and boudin, plus great Cajun side dishes. We do all the prep, and you enjoy laughing with friends and family. Chris's Specialty Foods, Millerville, New Orleans, Prairieville, and Frisco.
Everybody loves Chris's authentic Cajun meat.
Bayou Ford has $8,000 off MSRP, plus 1.9% financing on new 23 Ford F-150 XLT trucks, along with Bayou Ford's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows, LSU gearing up for fall camp, and we'll have your latest Saints training camp reports. Join us Monday's AFR, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
More recruiting talk with Billy Embody of On 3 coming up in 15 minutes. But briefly wanted to touch on a little bit of baseball. LSU hasn't reported to camp yet, so I don't feel as bad kind of backtracking a little bit for some baseball talk because I didn't get to last week. And I feel like if you win the national championship, you keep people's interest just a little bit longer than if we had lost in the regional and this was 2 months down the road and everybody was just locked in on football. Which I think you are locked in on football, and I'm ready. I'm ready to roll with football. But until LSU reports, which we'll get to the Saints a little bit later, I don't feel as bad veering backwards just a little bit. By now you know that Luke Holman, the Alabama ace from last year, has decided to come to LSU via the transfer portal. And by now you probably know that what his statistics looks like. You have a good feel for who he is. Of course, he was the pitcher who was scratched in the Paul Skeens game that triggered the gambling scandal that got Brad Bohannon fired. But I wanted to go a little bit more deep into it. I did yesterday when I got home, or Saturday when I got home, I fired up the Alabama-Wake Forest Game 1 of the Super Regional and wanted to watch the highlights of that to kind of see how Holman looked in a bandbox of a ballpark against an elite lineup. Like, what does that look like? And I'll tell you, the first pitch he threw in the bottom of the first inning in Game 1 of the Super Regional was a 95-mile-an-hour fastball just above the belt, and Tommy Hawk, their leadoff hitter, who's a little slap hitter, hammered it out for a home run. Just ambushed the fastball, first pitch, 95 miles an hour, see ya. And he did hang a breaking ball that got hit out in the second inning, and he made some bad pitches early in the game, but he did settle in. And he got some real swings and misses with his breaking ball. He punched out 8 in the game. The fastball had some life, and he was pretty good against Wake Forest after a pretty bad first 20 pitches. It's 92 to 94 with the fastball, and he's got 2 different breaking balls that are pretty effective. And it's the same thing that I've kind of said to you about Holman since he got attached to LSU, and it was that if he's your ace, you probably have a little trouble. Is he an SEC starter? Yes, he absolutely is. He's very, very capable against any SEC lineup of going out there and giving you 6 innings of 2 or 3 run baseball. And that's really all you're going to need at LSU in the Jay Johnson era. You're going to have some bullpen arms, and you're going to have an elite lineup as long as Jay's here, which we think is going to be a long time. And so I think this is a really, really good ad for LSU because I can paint a picture right after Omaha where you go, okay, Skeens is gone. Floyd is gone. Grant Taylor's gone. Shore's probably not coming back next year. Got Tommy John. What's the deal with Newt? I don't know. I'm starting to run out of commodities here that I feel like can start on the weekend in SEC play after I toss Thatcher Hurd out there. You got the draft coming up. You got high-profile signees. You don't know what's going to happen with that and what could happen with the transfer portal. I'll tell you this. I've come up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 options, in my opinion, that could be a weekend starter for LSU next year. I'm not going over them all. That's not the entire roster. They have more than 11 pitchers. But I think there are 11 options for weekend rotation spots next year. And I will rank the first 6 in order for you in my confidence level. Thatcher Hurd's first for me. I saw enough striking out 15 in a regional. I saw enough after the first 2 guys put 2 runs on the board for Florida, going 6 innings of shutout baseball with the national championship on the line. Do I have as much confidence in him right this second as I did Alex Lang going into year 2 or Aaron Nola going into year 2 or 3? No. Do I have a lot of confidence that he's going to be an ace and a first-round pick? Yeah. That's 1. Luke Holman would be 2 for me. I don't know if he's going to start on Saturday or Sunday or if he's going to be in the rotation, but he'd be my second guy because he's taking the ball on Fridays. He's taking the ball in game 1 of a super against the number 1 team in the country. He's seen a lot, and he's pretty good, and the talent level's there. Number 3 would be Gage Jump for me. If you're not familiar with him, you were checked out of baseball season when the portal was opening up. Left-hander from UCLA, real stuff, real ability, could be a first or second round pick next year if he shows he's healthy, which he should have time to recover from the injury and be ready to go in February. Justin Lohr would be 4 for me. It was Xavier's highest leverage reliever this past year. Left-hander, was great against Vanderbilt in the game that ended their season in the Nashville Regional. He wants to start. He said that on this show. He's got real ability from the left side. He would be 4. Cameron Johnson would probably be 5 for me. That's a big talent. That's all I can tell you. He throws 96 miles an hour. He's left-handed. He's 6'4", 240. That's a big talent. I would have him at number 5. But it's hard for freshmen to come in and do it. Every once in a while, there's a Lang that's just ready to roll. But more often than not, it takes some time. Nola wasn't exactly ready to roll. Gaussman was pretty good. But Landon Marceau took time. It just sometimes for freshmen, it just takes a minute. Cameron Johnson is 5th on my list. Griffin Herron is 6th on my list as a guy that I think could take the ball on a Saturday or Sunday and be a guy for you in the SEC. But that doesn't even mention Nate Ackenhausen. We saw him against Tennessee in the College World Series. Javen Coleman. Cade Anderson. Jake Brown. Those are real options. And I think as I sit here today, there are 11 guys that I think you could boil down to 3. And if you told me it was Thatcher Hurd, Gage Jump from the left side, and Luke Holman, I would say that's 3 guys who are going to be picked in the top 70 picks in the draft. That's the mission that Jay Johnson has been on since he got here. He said early on not early on in year 1, middle of year 1, when LSU was duct taping the thing together, it was Mikhail Hilliard and whatever we could do to get Gervais and get them the ball, Raiselman. He said eventually we'll have 3 first-rounders ready to go. That'll be the goal here. We should have an ace that's going to be a top 20 pick. We should have 2 guys that are right there with him. And I'm not ready to proclaim that you're there, but you did just have 2 first-rounders go. Skeens went first and Floyd went in the comp round. So you were on the way to it last year. Those 2 guys are gone, so you got to restock the shelves. But it's reasonable to project that Hurd, if I look at guys with first-round potential in this group, Hurd, Holman, Lohr, Jump, Johnson, and I'll need to see more of Anderson and Brown, the 2 freshmen, they're not as eye-popping as Cameron Johnson, and that's what we're looking at first-round pick. You can be a great pitcher in college and not go in the first round. And I don't think Lore's a first-round pick, but you never know. Guys blossom. So it's LSU's starting rotation, while not as star-studded as it was 4 months ago with Skeens and Floyd, looks to be remarkably deep. Because, oh, by the way, you only have 3 of those guys that can start on the weekend. Then I can rattle off 11 more, 8 more that could be in the mix. Now, you also have to realize that, hey, injuries happen. And to expect LSU to go from this point right here in the middle of July through next June and not have one of these guys deal with something is very unlikely. It just is. So that's why you've got to continue to build depth and build depth and build depth. And that's, I think, what they're doing right now. Now, I'll say this. People are asking, okay, what's the deal with the remaining guys in the transfer portal? Is LSU going to make some more splashes? I don't believe they will. I think LSU's done in the transfer portal. I think LSU's roster moving forward is just about set for fall baseball. Now, something unforeseen could happen. But in my opinion, LSU is done adding in the transfer portal at this time. Nothing's ever certain in this world of college sports and certainly college baseball. But that's, best of my knowledge, this is kind of the guys they were looking for. They really, really wanted to bolster that starting rotation. They did so with Holman. And the staff feels great about the fact that you've added a real veteran outfield bat in Mac Bingham that can potentially be a leadoff guy for you and certainly a starter in the outfield. And that was 2 places they really wanted to go. I was kind of talking here and there about the fact that I'd love to see another middle infielder into the mix. I just don't think there's room. They went and got Braswell. You did well in the draft not to lose your middle infield guys. You get Milam to come in. You still got Napolt. You still got Guidry, depending on what he wants to do. That's kind of what it looks like at this point for the middle infield. So this pitching staff looks good and deep. There could be some top-end talent there. And the lineup, we always expect to be pretty good with Jay at the helm. So that should be the case. But it's exciting to know that you did really well in the draft and kept Anderson, kept Brown, kept Johnson. And then you go into the transfer portal. You add Jump, you add Lore, you add Holman. That's 6 guys that you bring in that you didn't necessarily know you had in the middle of June. That's, in my estimation, pretty good spot to be in. So that's a quick look at baseball. We're done with baseball there for the day unless something were to happen over the next 90 minutes here. But we're going to change this and back to football. I've got the LSU spring game playing up on the SEC network right now. We got Ricky Collins going down there. That's disappointing. But that's LSU spring game is on the SEC network. We're going to transition to some recruiting coming up next with Billy Embody. He was all over the Bayou Splash this weekend. LSU's gotten a couple of commitments. What could be next? We'll cover all that with Billy coming up on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,500 off MSRP on all new 23 Ram 1500 Laramie trucks in stock. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance shops, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales service and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Join us for a Tuesday edition of Off the Bench as Nick Underhill of New Orleans Football joins the show to give us some boots on the ground reporting from training camp, plus a new edition of OTB Mailbag, and probably some more college football talk. Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I was looking at our stream numbers this morning. They're kind of what you'd expect. You got a lot in the Baton Rouge area. It's our listening area. Do pretty well over in Lafayette. Do actually very well up in Shreveport, my hometown. Got some presence there with the morning show being on in Shreveport as well. And Dallas gets a nice little hit on our stream numbers up there in the DFW area. That's good news for the next guy because he's hosting a get-together up in the DFW area this evening. He, of course, is Billy Embody from On 3, the Bengal Tiger. Billy, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Not as good as LSU is, though, after this weekend.
They're doing very well, and we'll get into that. But I do want you to talk about what y'all got going on up in the Dallas area for our listeners.
Yeah, for LSU fans, if you're around in the Plano area or DFW in general, we're going to do a little get-together for our Bengal Tiger subscribers at Katy Trail Ice House Outpost in Plano. So get together, talk a little fall camp, but especially talk about the Bayou Splash that happened this weekend. It'll be a good time from about 6 o'clock until 9. So swing on by if you don't have plans.
It is it's talking season, and we'll do a little bit of that. You mentioned the Bayou Splash this weekend, a couple of commitments on the offensive line for LSU in Ori Williams yesterday and Joseph Cryer just about an hour and a half ago. What can you tell us about these two additions?
Yeah, Ori Williams is one of my favorite guys in this class. Just from a personality perspective, he is happy-go-lucky, enthusiastic, always with a smile on his face. But you got to usually look up at that smile because he's about 6'7", 300 pounds, and one of the really high upside offensive linemen in this cycle. We just moved him up into the top 40 overall offensive tackles in the country in his senior season. comes together the way we think, he could move up even higher. But his frame, his athleticism, and that upside is why programs like Texas A&M, Florida were really pushing for him. But LSU won out. He's got some ties to Louisiana. Brad Davis did a really nice job recruiting him. That was the strongest relationship he had. And he got around LSU a good bit and silently committed on his official visit in June, but then came back again for the Bayou Splash, and then that's when he went public on Sunday night. So he had originally wanted to announce during his season before one of his games, but moved it up. So that was a good thing for LSU to get him out and publicly committed. And then Joseph Cryer came together really quickly in the last week. I think LSU, was evaluating multiple offensive linemen in the state of Louisiana to maybe make a move on them as their senior years get underway. And Joseph Cryer was the one they circled. They offered him last week, and that really hit home with him. This is a lifelong dream for him to play for LSU, and Brad Davis had kept in touch. Some of the staff had kept in touch with him, and, he had committed to Ole Miss in June. He didn't have an LSU offer yet, but they just kind of stayed in contact, and instead of waiting until his senior year began, they wanted to jump on him and get him flipped over to the Tigers, and he did just that. He's a big, physical interior offensive lineman. He could play center, could play guard, but he is somebody that has a nasty streak on film. That's what really jumps off the board at you, when you're watching his huddle, is just how nasty he is on the field. So LSU really has a good offensive line class. You've got Ethan Callaway and Ori Williams, two high upside tackles. You've got Kyrie Lee out of New Orleans, who's committed and has lost a lot of weight, really looked good when we saw him at camp. And now you have Joseph Cryer. So they've got four. They'll take five if they can get somebody like Elijah Thurman, who they just offered. He's a top 300 overall prospect out of Georgia. And then they're still recruiting Blake Ivy, trying to beat out Texas A&M for him out of the Houston area. He's a 4-star interior guy. So they could be taking five, but they've got a really good group of four committed now.
I opened my show today talking about the track record Brian Kelly had at Notre Dame recruiting offensive linemen, and then I went back to a soundbite from his introductory press conference where he said there's a demeanor and a profile we're going to recruit to there, and we're not going to get into specifics, but that's the formula. As you've now evaluated him for a couple of years in full recruiting cycles, getting offensive linemen, what would you say that profile looks like?
Yeah, it's kind of all over the place in a way, in a good way, right? We saw LSU in the past, Ed Orgeron and his staff, like really big offensive linemen and guys that, coming out of high school looked like they were physically at least ready to go, some too big to play. But LSU has gone after, a guy like Zalance Hurd, who is physically ready to go but has those elite athletic traits. They've gotten Tyree Adams, who's a high upside tackle. They went into Georgia and pulled guys like DJ Chester, who's physically ready, but also very bright in the classroom and just from a character and personality perspective. And then Paul Mabenga, a guy who's going to have to add weight and has some really impressive athletic traits too. In this class, I talked about it earlier, just kind of this, group of prospects that you've brought in that are high upside guys in Ori Williams and Ethan Callaway, who are still developing on their technique. But, in Ethan Callaway's case, he hasn't played football for really, he's played 3 seasons of high school football, and that freshman year was kind of taken, during COVID in a way. So you just have all sorts of different body types, but nobody's too big, at least from what I've seen to play. And, that concern that you get with recruiting big guys. Sometimes we haven't seen that. They like the guys that are either kind of right in a good little spot with their frame and their weight and things like that, or they're guys that they want to add weight. Even Connor Gilbreth, who was a late addition to the 2023 class, he arrives tomorrow. He's a blocking tight end at about 270, but he could pack on some weight, and long term they kind of see him as an offensive tackle. So they're turning over a lot of different stones from recruiting guys that, have the best of the best recruiting them, to also working on those guys and evaluating them throughout the process that, maybe didn't have the offers right away. Ethan Callaway, LSU was the second offer for him all the way out in North Carolina. The first offer was Campbell. So sometimes it takes a lot of courage to jump on a guy who doesn't have the offers, thinking, okay, you can wait it out and see how he develops. But they have a really good trust in their evaluations. Carl St. Cyr, who's an analyst in that building, works really hard at it with Brad Davis and Brian Kelly, I'm sure, to look at these offensive linemen and turn over every stone to find them. So they do a really good job at it overall.
Campbell, good baseball program. Not real sure on the offensive line evaluation, but I can promise you they're pretty good on the diamond in the spring. I'm chatting with Billy Embody from On 3, part of the Bengal Tiger crew. Look, I'm not as deep in the weeds as recruiting clearly as y'all are, but it doesn't take very long for me to get onto y'all's message board and see that the names Colin Simmons and Cade Durham are very frequently used. It's a Duncanville duo here. What can you tell us about the last couple of weeks in those two guys?
Yeah, this is what I would call the if you land both, this is the last couple of weeks is when they really pushed themselves over the top. They got them both on campus for the Bayou Splash. LSU has been turning up the heat and overdrive, complete overdrive on both those guys in the dead period. There's alums helping, NFL alums and coaches that are calling them and all of these things to show them how big of a priority they are. I mean, this is a complete group effort when you're talking about trying to go into Duncanville, which is one of the best programs in the country at producing talent, and get these guys out of the state of Texas would be huge. And Caden Durham, 4-star running back on the cusp of a top 100 ranking, is one of the best in the country and one of the best sprinters too. So he would run track at LSU if he commits. And at this point, we're starting to see that momentum really build that it is going to be LSU for him, and we'll see if Oklahoma can swing back and get him back in their in kind of their in their grasp. But right now, all the momentum is pointing toward LSU with Caden Durham, and I would say there's a lot more momentum around Colin Simmons and LSU as well. Texas left the month of June with a ton of confidence that they're going to get him. The Longhorns are really pushing, and it is a tough task for LSU to beat out Texas with the way they're for the most part, getting the guys that they target. And Colin Simmons is one of those that they have to have in the class of 2024. And LSU has really swung back with a ton of momentum. That Bayou Splash visit with his mom, his brother, his grandmother even came. This has been a really big group effort on Colin Simmons to get them in position to be, 1A, 1B, however you want to look at it. And we'll see when he announces his decision. I'm really intrigued to see if he locks it in before that senior season. But if he does, that is a good sign for LSU. They've got to weather, whatever swing and momentum Texas is going to try and put together again. But LSU has put themselves in really good position to land Colin Simmons. We'll see if it's enough, but they have really done just about everything they can to get him on board.
Big picture thing, you're obviously in the state of Texas. How are the recruiting dynamics between A&M and Texas as the Longhorns are 12 months out from joining the SEC?
Yeah, it's pretty wild, and I think both programs have had different levels of success keeping the state's talent in the Lone Star State, and it is a constant storyline when it comes to recruiting. If Texas or Texas A&M aren't keeping these guys home, A&M, they made their wave a couple years ago with that class that they put together, and Texas, on the other hand, has been recruiting well, but they haven't gotten that stranglehold back on some of the state's top talent that they would like to. I know both programs are certainly investing in recruiting like you would expect to gear up for the SEC. Texas joining the SEC, but A&M has really been trying to sustain that recruiting success from 2 years ago. They kind of fell back a little bit last year, but it's just a constant storyline. The state's top talent, will it stay home? And it's been a mixed bag in a lot of cases. And if Texas, for example, can get Colin Simmons to stay home, that is one of the biggest recruiting storylines of the year because he is one of those prospects that they have got to have. A&M has tried, but it seems like it's a two-horse race right now with LSU and Texas for Colin Simmons, and If LSU can pull him out of state, that'd be a massive, massive feather in the cap for Brian Kelly and his staff.
There is a massive, massive amount of Bayou Splash information on the Bengal Tiger message board over there, part of the On3 Network. Billy and Shay have been all over it. Billy, we appreciate a little bit of time. Y'all have fun tonight.
Anytime. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
He is Billy Embody, and we certainly appreciate his time. It's recruiting season. We're about to flip the page to camp season, where most of our storylines are going to be around what goes on the field. But man, are they they doing a lot of recruiting right about now, and seems like a lot of things going well for LSU. We'll come back and close that out number one next.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Saw a post in the Bayou Ford chat a little bit earlier on YouTube, said the power's been out on my side of the town since 9 a.m. That's a bummer. Well, it is a bummer unless you call Boudreaux's Electric. We know it's storm season. We know the power goes out around here for a lot of different reasons, but storms are the main one. Boudreaux's Electric can help you out with that. Don't let the power go out in your home. Boudreaux's Electric, family owned and operated by Neil and Melissa Boudreaux, just the way it's been for 40 years. They're a certified Generac generator dealer. It's not just that, they're a premier Generac generator dealer, and that means they're in the top 3% in the nation, but they still operate like an old school business with a new age technology. All their employees are full-time, so you're not going to get somebody just contracted out for one job. No, their employees do this day in and day out for Boudreaux's Electric. And one of the coolest things that they offer is a 4G LTE accessory that's a connected option that isn't affected by power outages. So your generator's always going to work, and if it's not, Boudreaux's will know about it because they can monitor your generator 24 hours a day. Maybe it doesn't function when the power goes out. Boudreaux's will know. They can send somebody out to fix it. Maybe the kids are out in the yard and they hit with the generator with the ball and turn something off. If you're monitored, Boudreaux's knows about it. So your generator is always going to be ready to roll. Boudreaux's Electric, new partner here at the Hunt Palmer Show. We're so proud to have them. And I'll tell you this, all their generators are going to come with a free 10-year warranty. Free 10-year warranty. Don't let the power go out. Call Boudreaux's Electric at the same number they've had for 40 years. It's 985-397-1562.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,500 off MSRP on all new 23 Ram 1500 Laramie trucks in stock. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you. Bayou Ford has $8,000 off MSRP, plus 1.9% financing on new 23 Ford F-150 XLT trucks, along with Bayou Ford's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 7.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. LSU gearing up for fall camp, and we'll have your latest Saints training camp reports. Join us Monday's AFR 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Be fairly brief here to close out hour number 1 here on this Monday. Good to be back. Kat Terrell is going to be with us in 9 minutes from Saints camp. Excited to get my first update from Saints camp since we were out at the end of last week. But I want to just briefly talk about, like, growing up's an interesting thing. Getting older, life changing. I used to think of the beach as it was a place for I'd go with my friends and we'd throw the frisbees out in the water, skip the balls across the water, hang out all day, running, playing, that whole thing. And then you ease into a phase where all you want to do is sit there and drink 400 beers with your college buddies on the beach. And that's what you would do on the beach. And you play some cornhole, play the frisbee game where you try to knock the bottle off the pole. Like that's what the beach looks like. And all of a sudden I look up and my beach life is hauling a 18-month-old and a 1-year-old niece out to the beach and setting up the tents and the thing that sits on the ground. It's like a tarp that they can sit on, and making sure you've got Cheez-Its and puffs and water and apple juice for them. And then you go sit on the sandbar and do nothing because you've got an 18-month-old that can't do anything, and you're lugging the ice chest both ways. And you got to leave the beach at 1 o'clock because they got to take a nap. And like all of a sudden you're like, this is not what this used to be. It was great. We had an awesome time. There were 6 adults, so we could take turns hauling the kids back, and we took turns who was going to sit in there for nap time. And when the kids were taking a nap for 3 hours, we could sit on the beach and play music and read a book and do the things that we did 4 years ago before these kids weren't around. But it's just funny, like how the same activity that we've been doing that I've now been doing for 30 years just drastically changes as time goes on. And I'm sure going to be a time in the next 4 years where I'm out there playing catch on the beach with Myers, where he can, instead of sitting on the ground eating Cheez-Its and Cheetos, can actually like play catch on the beach. But it was an awesome trip. That was a lot of fun. I got to play some golf. Beck, I want your thoughts on this. If this was a proper thing to do on a week-long vacation. We were in the Destin area, and my wife is a huge Dave Matthews fan. And she goes, we got to go to the Dave show on the beach. I was like, well, that sounds awesome. Before there, I've never seen Dave Matthews. I don't really care that much about Dave Matthews. I know a couple of his songs, but let's go. And then she tells me, oh, it's at the wharf in Orange Beach. I plugged in the GPS. We already had the tickets. It was 2 hours and 40 minutes away.
That's a drive.
Is that is something that is worthwhile on vacation, to leave the beach, to drive 2 hours and 40 minutes for a 7:30 show, and then come back and arrive back to the house at 2 o'clock in the morning? Is that a worthwhile endeavor?
I don't think so.
It's the things you do for love, I guess. The show was cool. I don't know a lot of the Dave songs. He played a lot of hits that I've never heard of. He didn't play Ants Marching, which is one of the songs that I know. But
probably tired of playing that one, I guess.
We did, yeah, probably. But I mean, he played Crash. I didn't know that song. But it was good. But I played 3 rounds of golf. So if I'm going to play 3 rounds of golf and leave the girls, me and my dad are going to go play, we're going to leave the girls with the babies 3 mornings in a row. I guess you got to do that. But I'm trying to think if there was a band that I would do that for, and the odds are probably not real high that would do it. It was quite a scene at the wharf. I've never been to the wharf in Orange Beach. It's got all the shops and the condos, and then they got that, it felt to me like Southern Miss's baseball stadium, like a big erector set that was built around a stage. And Dave was a little quirky. Have you ever seen Dave?
Yeah, he's an interesting guy.
He's a real quirky dude on stage. I have to pull up like a YouTube video of him actually doing an interview where he had this weird accent. He kind of sounded like almost Farmer Franish and from like the Waterboy at times. It's like, I hope I have a good time too. Like, what? No one talks like that, but I guess just part of the show, and it was good. That's a long way to drive. I'm looking in the Bayou Ford chat saying, Hunt, I can't imagine him and a Dave Matthews Band show. Look, there were $15 beers available. I had a couple of those. My wife drove home because she doesn't want to do that, but it was all right. It was a great trip, great week. I'm glad to be back. It's a long week off. Enjoyed it very much, and it's time to lock in and talk about some football. So we will do that. Start off hour number 2. Kat Terrell covers New Orleans Saints. She is with us after Sports Center. Come back on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales service and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Colts running back Zach Moss broke his arm in today's training camp practice. He is second on the team's depth chart behind Jonathan Taylor. Taylor currently on the PUP list. Indy is considering moving him to the non-football injury list over what it says is back pain from an injury not sustained while playing for the Colts. Taylor, who has requested a trade, says he never had back pain, never reported back pain. A couple of win now teams should call the Colts about Taylor, suggests Canty and Carlin co-host Chris Canty.
If you're the Buffalo Bills, if you're the Miami Dolphins, if you're the Dallas Cowboys, how the hell do you not go after a guy that 2 years ago had over 2,100 yards from scrimmage and 20 touchdowns? Jonathan Taylor was an MVP candidate in 2021. That's how good he was. Not just in the running game, but in the passing game, too.
Chris Canty on Greeny. Broncos receiver Tim Patrick carted off the field today with what the team fears is an Achilles injury. Dolphins cornerback Jalen Ramsey told Coach Mike McDaniel he'll beat the timeline in his return from surgery on his meniscus. No firm timeline yet, though, from McDaniel for Ramsey's return.
If you need last-minute hires in no time, you need Indeed. Their integrated hiring solution lets you schedule and conduct video interviews all in one place. Finding your next great hire has never been more streamlined. Get hiring at Indeed.com/credit.
Now, Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2 on a Monday, Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. A lot of LSU talk in hour number 1. Let's transition in hour number 2 over to the New Orleans Saints, who were back at it in pads today down in Metairie. Kat Terrell was there. She covers the Saints for ESPN and joins us on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Kat, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm surviving camp so far. That's how I'll put it.
What are the preventative measures to stay cool out there that the media are allowed?
I don't think those exist. I put sunscreen on like 3 times. That's about it, you know. Just trying to grind through practice, just like everyone else.
Make it happen. Well, I haven't seen a lot about today's practice, but I do know that the reports are that Andrus Peat went down. That's, of course, on the heels of Trey Turner going down, who, of course, our fans are quite familiar with here. So what can you tell us about those two guys?
Well, I saw Pete limping off the field and going into the locker room very early in practice, maybe 20 minutes into practice, long before they started team drills or anything like that. You know, we asked Dennis Allen about it. He said that he doesn't think that the quad injury is on the same level as Trey Turner's, who had a ruptured tendon, but he thinks it might be a strain. Now, I guess we'll just see. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it is strained. I think that's not worst case scenario, but it should keep him out of practice for a while.
What does that mean for the interior offensive line, centers and guards?
Honestly, at this early point, maybe not that much. Really, they're trying to rotate these guys in and out at different positions. You see James Hurst, who, when he signed with the Saints a couple years ago, he signed as a tackle. Then they kind of learned through injuries that Hurst can also play guard. And so what they've been doing is they'll have Trevor Penning start out at left tackle, and then he'll come out after a few snaps, and then they'll have Hurst move inside. So I wouldn't be surprised if Hurst is now taking Pete's spot, but there'll still be some rotation. If it sounds confusing, I feel like you have to have a chart to keep up with it all. Tons of players moving around, but you know, they've dealt with these injuries before, and I think that it's a good idea to do things like that. So then when someone goes down, they know that players can play all up and down the line.
You're a Saints fan after the last couple of years. You're thinking, we just stay healthy for a few games here and there, and just right out of the chute, they put the pads on a couple of players at the same position, go down. One looks like it's a little bit more significant than the other. Your report today was that Alvin Kamara will meet with the commissioner regarding potential disciplinary action from the NFL. What can you tell us about that?
Well, I asked Dennis Allen about this today, and he said Alvin wants to get out ahead of any potential suspension. He wants his chance to tell his side of the story. And they still don't know anything at this point from the league about whether Kamara will be suspended or how long he'll be suspended for. I would think that Kamara would probably go talk to Goodell sooner rather than later. So we'll probably know more about that in the next few days. I don't know if it's going to help. I mean, we'll see. But the thing is, these types of suspensions are always a little bit up in the air. I feel like when a player gets a DWI, it's usually pretty cut and dry that it'll be a 3-game suspension, maybe 2 if they're lucky, I guess. With things like this, there's so many moving parts that no one really knows what the league's going to do. But I think the fact that he no longer has that felony, that potential of felony conviction hanging over his head, I think that'll probably reduce what could have been a significant suspension to maybe a few games. But we'll have to see.
The Saints obviously did a lot of work in the offseason via free agency and the draft to be prepared for a potential suspension. What can you tell us about the two guys that would likely get the majority of the reps when Kamara's not out there?
Well, I think if you ever had a backup you could rely on, it's definitely going to be Jamal Williams, who came from the Lions, had, I believe, it was 18 touchdowns last year. Really great short yardage back, but, he'll be the first to say that's not all he is. I think that if Kamara is suspended for a few games, then that's going to be a very capable guy who can take the lead on that. And then I think that Kendre Miller, the rookie, has looked good too. We didn't get to see him earlier in the off-season, because he was recovering from that knee injury from January. But he's started to show himself more the last few days, involved in the passing game too, and that's what they want out of their backs. They don't want backs that are just running backs. They really heavily involved their running backs in the passing game. We saw that in years past with Kamara when he went several years in a row with 80 receptions. And so I think there's a lot of potential there. So, really it's not doom and gloom if Kamara isn't able to play for a few weeks.
She is at Kat_Terrell on Twitter. Kat Terrell covers the Saints for ESPN. Can Jimmy Graham still play football?
Well, I think that's what we're going to find out. I think Graham had a pretty quiet start to training camp. But, I say that, and it's only day 5, and the pads just came on. This is the time where players really start to show who they are. It's the time where the linemen are finally able to do their thing and kind of show you whether they're going to be good or not. I haven't seen that much out of Graham yet, but then today he had a great play where he lowered his shoulder and really just trucked Troy Pride. Kind of knocked him over, got a huge reaction from the crowd. They were super excited to see it. And, it felt like the old days. We have this 6'7" guy running people over. Now, whether he can still do that in games, we'll see. But it sure kind of was exciting to see today.
Do you think he's going to make the team?
I think that is tough to answer because it does seem like the Saints had a vision in mind when they signed him, or else, what would be the point of signing him? What's tough is that he's not going to play special teams based on what we've seen in training camp. So, what is his role? You already have Juwan Johnson, who showed that, he can score those touchdowns in the red zone. So is he going to take snaps from Juwan Johnson in the red zone? Are they going to both be at the same time? I mean, it's interesting. It's kind of like, what is the role going to be? And we all know, even Jimmy said, I'm 6'7", and I still love the red zone. Back in the day, he was almost unbeatable in the red zone. Even that year, I don't know if you recall, Hunt, he got hurt and he partially tore his plantar fascia, and we all thought he'd miss some games, and he didn't. So he came back in the next week with a very painful injury. He played like 15 snaps, and all in the red zone, and scored 2 touchdowns. So he doesn't need to play a lot, maybe they just like that matchup. But, I'm kind of rambling, but I don't think that I could say either way at this point. But, as Dennis Allen said, we don't have to see it every day, but we do have to see it. So he's got to show that in camp that he still has something left.
So forgive my ignorance here because I honestly don't know, but how much participation can Foster Moreau give right now? 100%, 0%? I have no idea.
I mean, as far as I know, it's 100%.
Okay.
It's hard to say because they're rotating so much, and there are some guys that are getting light days or days off. So you're not always keeping track of, oh, hey, this guy is not playing as much as we'd think, unless it's like a Michael Thomas, right, where everyone has all eyes on him all the time. But, from what I've seen, he's not being held back, and, he's doing everything they ask. But I think the fact that I couldn't give you a completely direct answer shows that there's a lot of guys that are making a lot of plays already, a lot of pass catchers you're trying to keep your eye on, and that's kind of exciting after a lackluster year offensively last year.
You mentioned Michael Thomas. We'll close with that. What can you tell us about where he is physically?
Well, he had a light day on Saturday. It was very interesting. I thought that he was not going to play in team drills at all. Usually it's an either-or thing. And then he didn't do really anything all practice in terms of team drills and 7-on-7, and then he comes in for one play really late in practice. It kind of made me think that Michael Thomas demanded to go in. I don't know. I thought he'd be very like him. But, man, today it was like the Michael Thomas show. Derek Carr went to him over and over again. They had him matched up against Marshawn Lattimore. Lattimore got the best of him on one play, was slant around in the second set of 11-on-11. Just really great coverage. And then Lattimore got the PBU. And then the very next play, Derek Carr rolls out of the pocket and points at Thomas several seconds before he throws him a pass down the sideline. Like he was so sure that not only was he going to Thomas, but Thomas was catching that ball. So, at one point he went to him 3 straight plays. So I think it's kind of great to see a lot of participation from Thomas. It's still, it's one of those things, just like everyone else. Is he going to be able to translate it to the regular season? I don't know, but I think that shows a significant step forward for him.
Yeah, I mean, sure, anything at this point would be a step forward, and I'm sure
anything, right?
The gathered black and gold fans out there were thrilled to see that. Kat, we really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
She's Kat Terrell, covers the Saints for ESPN at Kat, Kat_Terrell on Twitter. That I didn't know. I'm trying to gather a lot of stuff, and the Saints stuff comes out a little bit later as practice is going on. So I wanted to get kind of my bearings with Kat before we get into some of the real stuff at the end there. But I got to tell you, I think that's really good to hear, that Michael Thomas is being featured at points during practice, and he's going head-to-head with one of the top 5 corners in the league, and that he's feeling competitive and wants to go in game. I'm just looking for something here. It's still July. So I think that is a step forward. It certainly gives me more optimism than if he was standing out there holding his helmet. I feel like that's a step forward. I personally don't believe Michael Thomas has a 1,500-yard season in him, a 1,300-yard season, and I don't even know if he has a 1,000-yard season in him. But do I think he can help? Yeah. Do I think the Saints need him to help? Yeah. We'll see as we move forward here in camp. All right, that's Kat Terrell. We appreciate a little bit of her time. When we come back, let's chat a little bit about LSU football. We'll bring back an old feature here that we run during the summer and into camp. That's next.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team been at it 30 years. You do something for 30 years, probably know what you're doing. David Duvall and his team absolutely do. If you want a full-scale bathroom renovation, don't want to move, you just want to improve your bathroom situation, they can do it. Soup to nuts. You start with them, you make one phone call, never to another contractor. Just David Duvall and One Bath and Closets. They take it the distance. I can promise you they're going to do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. Maybe it's something smaller, just a tub-to-shower conversion. Don't use this tub anymore. It's disgusting. It's been there forever. Just want a new, clean, glass door walk-in shower. They can handle that at One Bath and Closets. Go to the website, OneBathAndClosets.com. You can see testimonials. You can see pictures of their great work, and you can request that free consultation. It doesn't cost you anything for David Duvall and his team to come on out and show you what they can do with your home. Could be the bathroom, could be in the closet as well. Go to OneBathAndClosets.com, OneBathAndClosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time to slip away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco, voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents.
Join us for a Tuesday edition of Off the Bench as Nick Underhill of New Orleans Football joins the show to give us some boots on the ground reporting from training camp, plus a new edition of OTB Mailbag, and probably some more college football talk. Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Big thanks to Kat Terrell for jumping aboard and giving us some Saints news and notes from down there in Metairie. 5 days in to Saints Camp. LSU will start things up later this week. Still haven't gotten the schedule for when they're practicing, what they're doing, when the media will be available for that. But when we do, you will know about it, and we'll have you covered pillar to post here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. When they get out there, they're going to have some seniors out there. They'll have some juniors out there. They'll have some sophomores out there, and you'll probably know most of those guys. But we started 2 years ago, and we jumped into a little segment in the summer to try to educate you on some of the younger players on the roster, and now we're 2 years later, and we're still doing it.
Meet the freshmen. Freshmen. Meet the freshmen. They're the newest Tigers on the team.
The old Meet the Freshman jingle that Cade Wassan came up with the Flintstones theme. We'll do 2 a day for you here until August the 15th. We're going to get you through there every single day. We will go through 2 freshmen on LSU's football team, and I'll just kind of give you their story and kind of my expectation for them as we move forward. We'll start with Ricky Collins today as our first. Of course, you're aware of Ricky Collins at this point. He's been on campus since January. 6'2", 182-pound quarterback from Woodlawn right here in Baton Rouge. In October of his junior year of high school, he committed to Purdue. Did not have an LSU offer and jumped on his first big one there. And I went back and read some recruiting stories on Ricky Collins, and he was really committed to Purdue and wanted to go up there and play. But then he becomes a district MVP as a junior. He becomes a 4-star quarterback. All the while, he's a 3-sport guy: football, basketball, baseball, shows his athleticism. And he's catching some people's eyes. He's catching some people's eyes in terms of talent evaluation on the recruiting websites and certainly other college coaches. And LSU finally decides, yeah, this is a guy that we want in our class. And when that happened, it was real quick. Within the week, Ricky Collins had decommitted from Purdue and committed to LSU. When it ended, he was a 4-star by every service that does recruiting rankings. He was the number 14 quarterback in the country by On3, and he decided to enroll early. And one of the things that I saw about Ricky Collins early in his time at LSU was at the spring game when they didn't put him in a no-contact jersey. If you see the picture that Beck's got up on the board here, that's of the spring game, and he's just in the normal white jersey. And Brian Kelly got asked about why he put Ricky Collins in a white jersey in the spring game where he could get hit. If you were listening to the show in the first hour, I was watching the LSU spring game on one of our TVs, and Ricky Collins got sacked. And Brian Kelly's quote was, "Young quarterbacks, we don't want to slow them down early. We want them to keep playing. We want them to play longer. It allows them to process the game a little bit better." I guess that quote just means we want them to see the play a little bit longer. They can run around and we don't have to blow the whistle. Maybe they make somebody miss. Maybe they're developing a little bit. And Ricky Collins needs that. And the good news is he's got plenty of time, because Ricky Collins is a long way, in my opinion, from being LSU's starting quarterback. That has some to do with his development as a player, but far, far more to do with the fact that Jaden Daniels comes back as one of the top 5 in the betting odds to win the Heisman and the first-team All-League quarterback in NSC Media Days. And Garrett Nussmeier still has a couple years left to play. And those two guys are just significantly beyond him in terms of development. Jaden Daniels has started for 4 years in college. Garrett Nussmeier has played some high-leverage spots in his college career. And Collins has just played in high school and had one spring football practice. So if you're looking at Ricky Collins, you're looking at a kid who's just coming in to learn and get reps. He's going to run the scout team. He's going to soak things up in the quarterback room from Jaden Daniels, from Garrett Nussmeier, from Joe Sloan. He's going to learn from Mike Denbrock. And he's just got a lot of time to develop. This runway is so long for Ricky Collins. And at that position, it's like, can you even invest a lot in that as a fan? As a player and as coaches, of course you can. But at that position, it's like, man, guys are moving all the time. If you're not quick to the field, do you stick around? And so I'm not sitting here telling you how quickly Ricky Collins is looking to transfer. I think it's a long way from that. I do think he's a long way from being LSU's starting quarterback. He does have good athleticism. He does have plenty of arm. I saw him in the spring working out. I've seen plenty of scholarship quarterbacks on LSU's campus that I could look at and go, man, is that arm going to play in the SEC? Collins isn't like that. He's got the tools. He's just got a couple guys right there in front of him, and one more potentially nipping on his heels here. LSU's got a big 4-star quarterback commitment coming in the next class. So Ricky Collins, talented player from the city of Baton Rouge, got his opportunity to commit and sign with LSU, enrolled early, and he'll be a guy who kind of gets lost in the shuffle this year because it's just not something we're going to talk a ton about your third-string quarterback behind two really, really good players. But a guy with a lot of tools that LSU will continue to work with. The second Meet the Freshman today on day one of Meet the Freshman is Ashton Stamps. Ashton, 6 feet, 175 pounds, and he committed to LSU 4th of July last year. This was your classic camp offer. This is a guy who was not really on a lot of radars. This is a guy who had offers from Nichols and some lower-level college football programs. But he went to camp, and the staff looked and went, We can work with that. And this is what you hope blossoms into Justin Jefferson. That's unlikely. Justin Jefferson may be the best wide receiver in the NFL. But can it blossom into Deion Jones or Duke Riley? Can it blossom into Lloyd Cushenberry? If you remember, we had Russell Gage comes to mind here as well. We had a study that one of the recruiting websites did that I couldn't find today. But it was basically, how well does your program develop 5 stars into NFL players? How well does your program develop 4 stars into pros? How well does your program develop 3 stars into pros and draft picks? And LSU, while they do sign a lot of 5 stars relative to the rest of the country, their percentage on developing those into real draft picks is a little bit lower than you would think. Their 4-star rate is really good, and their 3-star rate was second in the country. And Ashton Stance is a consensus 3-star. Went to Rummel, played some corner at Rummel, played some safety at Rummel, and he's one of the most lowly ranked players that LSU signed last year. But again, they've got a lot of guys in front of him in the defensive back room, and they think this is a kid who grew up in Louisiana, will take pride in playing for the state, has some real athletic ability, and a pretty good frame at 6 foot 175, that they decided, we'll take a chance on that kid. Not a cornerstone of your class, not a guy that's going to catch the headlines, and maybe a guy that doesn't help but ends up transferring out and goes somewhere else. That happens with plenty of 3-stars at LSU. And you don't build your roster around 3-star guys whose latest offer was from Nichols. But you can take a couple, because the guys in this state just seem to quite often blossom into really, really good players. And so I don't expect Ashton Stance to play much this year. He may redshirt. He may play some special teams. He may not play at all. But you're hoping that you've got the next guy from South Louisiana who was under everybody's radar and said, hey, let me come to camp. Let me show you what I can do. Put me up against that guy. Put me up against that guy. He's a 4-star? Let me see. And after a couple days at camp, the staff looks around and goes, all right, that looks pretty good to me. And that is what the staff hopes Ashton Stance becomes in this class. So Ricky Collins and Ashton Stance today, your Meet the Freshman. Tomorrow we'll do Dylan Carpenter and Michael Doherty, Jackson McGowan and Paul Mabenga coming up, Jeremiah Hughes and Christian Brathwaite. We'll work our way towards some of the higher-ranked players in this class. We'll get to one day's got Shelton Sampson and David Toviano. Think you know something about those guys. We'll start with some of the younger guys. Tomorrow we'll do Dylan Carpenter and Michael Doherty as part of our Meet the Freshman segment that we'll do every day between now and the 15th of August. All right, we'll take another time out. We'll come back with more. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Another new partner here at the Hunt Palmer Show is an amazing one, and that's so great for our region. Ochsner Health and MD Anderson Cancer Center have partnered to create Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center right here in southeastern Louisiana. This collaboration is going to provide patients in our region with access to cancer treatments that are among the most advanced in all of the nation. Ochsner is the first and only provider in Louisiana with a fully integrated cancer program based on MD Anderson's practice standards and their treatment plans. That includes customized treatment plans, access to MD Anderson's protocols and practice standards. The physicians will have direct access to MD Anderson specialists and researchers. Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center is going to offer groundbreaking research and innovative therapies. And they're going to offer access to select clinical trials that are available to eligible patients right here in our state. Expert care is going to be given in 7 locations across New Orleans, St. Tammany, Baton Rouge. Ochsner MD Anderson are going to work together to certify additional sites coming up in the future. That's so, so exciting. If you'd like to learn more, you can visit Ochsner.org. Ochsner.org for more on Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. LSU gearing up for fall camp, and we'll have your latest Saints training camp reports. Join us Monday's AFR, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
So I wanted to hit on a couple of things in this segment that happened when I was gone. Just kind of a grab bag of NFL things. It starts with Joe Burrow, so it's local angle. But of course, by now you know that he had a non-contact injury and went down in Bengals camp last week. And I was sitting on the couch. We were about to make dinner at the house, and my dad's there, and my brother-in-law's there, and got babies running around, and my brother-in-law goes, they carted Joe Burrow off the field today. I said, oh my God, he tore his ACL on the first day of practice? Like, why else would they cart him off the field? They didn't hit him. He have a concussion or something. Like, that was the first thing I thought of. So I go to the internet and I start looking things around. I was devastated. That's my only true rooting interest on Sundays is Joe out there. And I watched it and went, well, that's not his knee. And then said it was calf, and I'm not doctors. I don't know what calf strain means or whatever. And the Bengals haven't put a timetable on it, but the feeling is that like he's going to be out for a little bit in terms of practice. And that was the same case last year as he got banged up early in camp and he couldn't practice, and he got off to a pretty bad start. We forget this, I think, because he was so great late, and they got all the way to the AFC Championship game and battled Mahomes to a 3-point game. Won convincingly in Buffalo and beat Baltimore in the playoffs. But, I mean, the first game Joe played last year was the Steelers. He threw 4 picks in the first game. You never see that. He only threw 8 the rest of the way. And then week 2, they were in Dallas, and he threw for 199 yards. So that's not great. And the Bengals started 0-2. And then he started to find it a little bit. Then they hit stride, and by now we know that they only lost 2 games the rest of the way. They finished the season winning 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games in a row. Won the division. But a lot of people think that the reason Joe wasn't very good to start and had to get into things, he just wasn't practicing, wasn't playing in preseason games. He was coming back from being banged up. And it feels like that may be the same thing this year. Now, maybe he learned, and now that he's going into year 4 and he's got a better grasp on, what he's got to do on Sundays and to get prepared, maybe it's better. But he was coming off being in the Super Bowl last year and wasn't ready to roll by his admission. So that bums me out a little bit. Hopefully that the Bengals can get off to a good start, and hopefully he's out there in week 1. But I have no idea, and I haven't seen an update as to what the reports are going to say about Burrow and how long he's going to play. I'm certainly not an orthopedic doctor who can tell you. But I was super bummed to be sitting there at the beach and being like, oh, Joe, down for a bit. It's just a tough break. The other big story in the NFL here has been the Colts drama. We've seen the Sean Payton drama, and we'll get to that in a second. But the Colts drama with Jonathan Taylor and Jim Irsay and him demanding a trade, and Irsay saying, if I die tomorrow and Jonathan Taylor leaves the game, no one will know anything about it. It's just bigger than football's bigger than 2 people. It's a weird thing to say. Whatever. And I understand where Jonathan Taylor is coming from. I understand some of the NBA players that demand a trade or be here or there. Like, I get where they're coming from. Jonathan Taylor wants more money. He's been one of the best backs in the league for the last couple of years. He's in the last year of a rookie deal. He's not making as much money as his production in the NFL would generally warrant. I understand that, but I also understand how this business runs. If you're in the major leagues and you won't pay anybody, then you're cheap. If you're in the NFL and you don't pay somebody, there's a limited amount of money you're allowed to spend. And if you don't want to spend it on the late 20s of a running back who's carried the ball as much as anybody in the league outside of Derrick Henry, I get it. And I know that it's going to tick somebody off. But the fact of the matter is, maybe Jim Irsay would be willing to give Jonathan Taylor $14 million a year moving forward if he was allowed to. The fact of the matter is, he's got to have a pass rusher, and he needs a left tackle, and he needs 2 corners, and he's got to have a franchise quarterback. And you got to pay those guys. And there aren't that many guys who can play left tackle. There aren't that many guys who can get 15 sacks and make the Pro Bowl. And there are more guys that can run the football. Now, they're not all as good as Jonathan Taylor, but the contract's the contract. So I'm all for Jonathan Taylor saying, I'd like more money. I'm a running back. We got a short shelf life. I'm trying to get paid. But in the same vein that he's saying, I'm a running back, I got a short window, I got to get paid, the Colts are going, we know you have a short window, which is why we're not going to break the bank for you. So the Colts are now rumored, they haven't done it, say, he's got a little injury, non-football injury, going to put him on the non-football injury list, which would mean he gets no money. I don't think anybody's wrong here. I think what Jim Irsay said was weird. And I think that, Jonathan Taylor should look into going to play. But I get both sides. And I think if you're banging the drum on either side, you might want to take a look at the other one. And then the other NFL story here is the weird back and forth between Sean Payton and Aaron Rodgers. And Sean Payton has I know this because I have friends that cover the Saints. We just had Kat on. We have Luke. We have Sharif. I've known all of them for over 10 years. 15, actually. And they've covered Sean Payton extensively. And Sean grew to have a really great relationship with the media. He said when he left New Orleans, one thing he wished he would have known a little bit earlier was the way that you should probably handle yourself with the media. They've got a job to do. You've got a job to do. If you've got something they don't really need to know, you just don't have to say it. You can tell a white lie. But they're going to ask you a tough question here or there after a loss, and you probably just need to handle yourself professionally and get it done and maybe create a nice relationship with some of these people so that you can work amicably, because they're going to be there whether you go 13-3 or 3-13 in a 16-game season. And you saw at the end of Peyton's time, he took the entire Saints media out to dinner and bought them drinks and told stories, and so he gets it. And I just thought that talking to a local reporter and ripping Nathaniel Hackett a new one was odd. I heard Charlie earlier talking about on his show, he's really not ripping Nathaniel Hackett as much in his mind as he is backing Russell Wilson. But you can be a little bit more tactful than to say Nathaniel Hackett did the worst job of coaching in the history of the NFL. How about spinning it and saying, oh, I know Russell's got what it takes. And I think that there were some issues in Denver last year, and they just didn't play the way that people thought that they would. And I wasn't behind closed doors or in meeting rooms, but I've talked to Russell. We've worked out with Russell. We've seen, we've gotten on the same page, and I expect him to have a great year and be a Hall of Fame type player like he's going to be. Like that's how you back Russell. Not by saying Nathaniel Hackett's the worst coach in the history of the league. You don't have to do that. Maybe if Nathaniel Hackett was coaching against you last year and threw 2 40-yard touchdown passes when he was up 40 on you in the fourth quarter, and you've got an axe to grind with him, you want to fire away, I'm not going to get mad at you for that. But just eviscerating the guy to it, not like a hidden email that somebody dug up on a Freedom of Information Act. This was on the record to a reporter. I just don't see the need for that. And, Rodgers is going to Rodgers. He's going to fire back, and he is backing his guy, because this is in direct response to what Peyton had to say. But it was a little pointed. Guy that's insecure after all the stuff he's done in his league. He's got to take a shot at my guy. And that one was not even close to over the line, and I thought Peyton's was. But these are two really strong personalities, and they'll get to duke it out in the first 6 weeks of the season. And I think they just got a little bit more interesting. These are two teams that are going to have a lot of eyeballs on them. Sean Payton brings eyeballs, so does Russell Wilson, and they're expected to be a lot better. The Jets, mostly for really bad stuff, generate a lot of eyeballs. So does Aaron Rodgers, and the thought is they're going to be much better. But I just thought that Peyton way crossed the line. There's just no need for that. Sometimes you need to do some things in the media to send a message. That's not one of the times. So that's a little NFL grab bag there from our time away, which was developments from training camp, which, look, it's talking season. We need people to say some interesting things so we can fire away. That happened to be the case over the last couple of days. Take one more time out, come back and close it out.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
LWCC is Louisiana Loyal. They're elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. Corey Barr, a champion of Louisiana. We've been telling you about Corey really all summer. He's grown national acclaim as a chef in the culinary world. You've seen him on Beat Bobby Flay. You've seen him on Next Food Network Star. You've seen him on the Food Network. But he uses that national acclaim to better his home state. That's why he comes back and operates his 3 businesses in Monroe. That's why he's a champion of Louisiana. If you know a champion of Louisiana, LWCC wants to know about it so they can tell us, so we can tell you. That's what happens when you go to lwcc.com/champions and nominate a champion of Louisiana. Could be a business, could be a nonprofit, could be a person like Corey that's doing great things for our great state. Corey Barr is a champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana Loyal.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal. a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
This summer, retirement is a state of mind. Whether it's a mid-morning activity or an early bird special, grab a Coors Light and chill like you're retired.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 7.
For a Tuesday edition of Off the Bench, as Nick Underhill of New Orleans Football joins the show to give us some boots on the ground reporting from training camp, plus a new edition of OTB Mailbag, and probably some more college football talk. Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Back to school season is here. 104.5 ESPN and Citizens Bank and Trust want to help. It's our $1,000 back to school bucks giveaway. You can go over to 1045ESPN.com right now to register to win. Also be awarding a $500 local cash prize. It's $1,000 back to school bucks. It's a giveaway from Citizens Bank and Trust. All right, Jacob Beck, take it or leave it.
All right, first one here. Dodgers pitcher Noah Syndergaard was traded to the Cleveland Guardians last week, making this his 4th team in 2 years. Syndergaard is finished. Take it or leave it.
Take it. I'll take it. The guy was just unbelievable early in his career. The Cubs played that Mets team in the NLCS in 15, and it was DeGrom, and it was Syndergaard, and they were throwing everything 100 miles an hour, and the Cubs just had nothing left after they beat the Cardinals, and they got swept. And you looked at that, and then they had Steven Matz coming and Wheeler, and they had Harvey, and it was like, this team is just going to be unstoppable pitching-wise for 5 or 8 years, and it just never materialized. DeGrom was sensational, but Syndergaard was hurt all the time. Harvey fell off a cliff. I don't even know where Wheeler is at this point. So it's just you just never know with pitching. It's why we thought maybe the Pirates would go elsewhere. It's why the Cubs prioritizing their rebuild, going after advanced hitters. They thought they'd sign pitchers through free agency because it's just hitting seems to be a little more consistent than pitching. It just seems to be. And Syndergaard just kind of lost it somewhere along the way, and I don't think he's getting it back.
Garrett Temple has signed a 1-year, $3.2 million contract with the Raptors. Temple has had the most unlikely NBA career ever. Take it or leave it.
I would say, I'll leave that, but I would say for LSU, I would take it. Like, as far as LSU players go, I can't think of anybody who's carved out a more impressive career, a lengthier career with relatively little acclaim in college. Like, he was the guy who shut down J.J. Redick as a freshman in the Sweet 16, but he was a role player for 4 years. I mean, Marcus Thornton was the SEC Player of the Year on the SEC championship team he played on. He was never one of the guys, and all of a sudden you look up for a decade and a half, and he's been in the NBA. So it's been amazing to watch Garrett Temple and how he's carved out a spot. And we had to take it or leave it when the Pels decided not to extend him. Like, yeah, I thought his NBA career was over. Raptors said, no, sir, come on in.
Oppenheimer, take it or leave it.
Take it. Saw it last night. Went by myself. Wife has no interest. Like, I have no interest in Barbie. I love nonfiction. I love based on a true story movies. And this one was really, really good. It was 3 hours, but it moved so quickly. The dialogue was so quick. The cuts were so quick. And I'm far from like a film critic. Y'all know that, but it was noticeable just how quickly things were moving. And they kept the storyline developing. And you think you kind of know the story. It's like, well, you got a war going on. We got to build a bomb, and then we dropped it, and then we dropped another one, and that's it. But there's way more that goes into it between relationships and people using political clout and decisions that had to be made, and it's interesting. And then I always like to go back when I watch movies like that and then kind of see what was kind of embellished for the film and what was real. And it sounds like they captured it pretty well with a couple of liberties that they take for Hollywood. I thought it was great. I talked to Chuck P., who's up in here and who's on Eagle in the middays, and he said he's seen it twice in theaters. I'm not going to go there, but I did enjoy my time yesterday in the theater.
Notre Dame is wearing green jerseys and green pants in a game this year. Take it or leave it.
What do you think?
I think you're going to leave it.
Notre Dame can't wear green pants. Notre Dame has classic uniforms. Unbelievable tradition. I don't need green on green. I hate Notre Dame. I don't like Notre Dame. But I have to defend. What are they going to do now? Paint the end zones? You're going to put, something on touchdown Jesus to spice it up? You're Notre Dame. Just leave it the way it is. I'm out. I didn't think it was not executed great, but I'm always for trying to have a little fun. They put a Twitter video out that was basically the scene from Jerry Maguire, Show Me the Money. Marcus Freeman's yelling. He's playing Tom Cruise, and one of the players is playing. Is it Cuba Gooding Jr.?
Yeah,
he's playing Cuba Gooding Jr. and they're going back and forth with Show Me the Green Jerseys, Show Me the Green Jerseys. I thought that was a good effort. I was fine with it. The uniforms are terrible.
All right, last one here. Sticking with the green theme, the Eagles are going with the classic Kelly greens for a game this year. Take it or leave it.
That I will take. Those uniforms are sweet. The Randall Cunningham uniforms with the full bird on the side and the helmet that's Kelly green instead of the New Age one. The Eagles are far from the worst defenders on NFL Sundays. You got some teams that look really, really rough out there. The Eagles look okay. But the Kelly greens that Cunningham wore are sweet. And I think they should just go right on back to them and just wear those all the time. But they won't do that. They're going to wear them for a game. When I saw the Twitter announcement that they were going to them, I was like, oh, that's incredible. They're going back to classic uniforms. And they haven't. There are plenty of teams that need to go back to classic uniforms. The Marlins need to go back to the 90s uniforms. The Diamondbacks need to go back to the 90s uniforms on the baseball side. The Bucks are going to wear the creamsicles for a game this year, which I don't think are all that attractive, but it's an effort to go back and look that way. I wish the Seahawks would go back to the blue uniforms with the silver helmets. I think that was awesome, and their rebrand with all the neon is goofy, but y'all know how I feel about uniforms at this point, so I'm not exactly breaking any news there. But the Eagles will look sweet in the classic Kelly. So that's it for take it or leave it. What are your thoughts on Oppenheimer, Beck?
I really liked it. I thought, Christopher Nolan obviously directed The Dark Knight, which a lot of people consider to be the greatest film of the century, or at least certainly in the top 3 or 4. But yep. I really enjoyed it. I thought all the performances, you would just see these random actors pop up. Oh, I know that guy. that guy, and then they would just have a scene where they just go crazy and just really delivers some great lines. I mean, and to me, it was a perfect example of how you make a movie about a true story.
And I'll say this: there's no spoilers here for those that haven't seen it, so I wouldn't worry about that. I would have missed by a good bit on when Albert Einstein was around.
Yeah.
I would not have said that Einstein was still kicking it and doing real well in the 40s. That would have been beyond what I would have thought. But he is in the film. There's an actor that plays Einstein, and he has a little bit of a role. And so I would have thought Einstein was around the turn of the century. And I guess technically he was around for that, but just I thought that was when he was doing his best work, and maybe in the 1800s. But again, I'm not all that bright and certainly don't know that much about history. So that's it for Take It or Leave It and Oppenheimer takes here on a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Good to be back. We opened things up today with LSU's offensive line recruiting. Talked about Luke Holman being added to LSU baseball pitching staff. Billy Embody came back. We revisited Bayou Splash on the recruiting side there. Kat Terrell with this top of hour number 2, talking about the black and gold. Subscribe to Hunt on Saints on YouTube. Hunt on Saints on YouTube for all our Saints content. Did Meet the Freshmen. Started that back up with Ricky Collins and Ashton Samps. Of course, we finished it with Take It or Leave It. You can find all that on demand wherever you find your audio. Excited to be back in the chair. Excited to turn it over at this point. Matt's going to drive you home on After Further View. Coming up next, we're back same time, same place tomorrow. See you then.